Stand up if you think it's you. Yes.
Thank you. This is my first time meeting you, and I'm very grateful and feel blessed to be here. Thank you. The vortex is new to me. Hearing it feels really good.
That will briefly say, that's a good thing to acknowledge, because when hearing something feels really good to you, it means that the larger part of you knows it, and you hearing it and feeling good brings you into agreement with that greater knowing.
I've been married 16 years, and I'm going to be going through the process of divorce. My husband is mentally ill. We have a 6-year-old son. I feel very guilty about leaving him. My husband's completely financially dependent on me, and my intention is for the separation and the new relationship that evolves from this for the highest good of all concerned.
Well, you can't get there from there. In other words, you can't find a relationship that is for the highest good from a place of guilt.
Yeah.
So what's mental illness anyway? Isn't it just a strong case of being out of the vortex?
He's very far out.
So was he mentally ill when you met him and married him?
Yeah, I was mentally ill too. I was very far out of the vortex, unconscious.
So give us just a brief detail of what your description of that is. In other words, those are strong words that you are using. What do you mean by them? What's the behavior that gives you such a reason to use such a strong word?
Well, we are very much out of alignment now. He just sees reality different. He could hear something, but what he hears in his mind is completely different. So we could hear the same thing. He makes up a whole story about it that's not true.
Well, we're not disagreeing that that's the way it looks to you, but we just want you all to realize that you're all doing that.
Yeah.
In other words, because what you think you heard isn't about what someone was saying, it's about the vibrational ears through which you heard it. And so when Esther first began receiving us, she was very excited because she thought now finally she was going to be able to sift through the world and find out who was telling the truth and who was lying. Because after all, Abraham is infinite intelligence. They would know. So one of the early days, she turned on the television and put one of those daytime judge shows on. It wasn't Judge Judy. It was before Judge Judy, but it was a judge, a very judging judge, who was listening to these different points of view of people. And Esther's question to us was, all right, Abraham, who's telling the truth? Because her assumption was one of them was, because they were telling two different stories, so one of them is lying and one of them is telling the truth. And we said, Esther, a much better question would be, who is saying what they believe is true? And in the majority of cases, they both were. They were, sometimes it was obvious that someone was clearly deceiving, but in so many cases they both believed that what they were saying was true. And this is why when you have a vibrational attitude, law of attraction gives you manifestations that match it. So when you believe something, the universe keeps giving you reason to believe it, because it comes to you not because it's true. It comes to you because you have an active vibration that keeps supporting it. Isn't that interesting? You need a different criteria to hold yourself to as a standard or others, and that standard must be how does it feel, not whether it's true, because there are endless things that are true that you do not want to experience. So you don't want to activate them in your vibration and make you a compliant component to them, you see. So we're being a little strong here because we really want you to soften your understanding about this, because that guilt that you feel isn't because you feel guilty because you're leaving someone who needs you. That feeling of in your belly that you are calling guilt is because your husband is presenting himself in a way that when you look at it, it does not match at all the true image that you have formed over all of these wonderful many years that you have been co-creating together. We're not trying to get you to stay together. That's not the point of this message. We just want you to understand why you're feeling what you're feeling. And there are so many people who have a bad relationship and justify leaving it by pointing out how bad it is, and then they keep that vibration active within them so that the next relationship has the same characteristics because the same vibration is active. And all the while, as they move from person to person, they're creating a perfect relationship. They just don't have access to it because they're so busy beating the drum of justification. So we would like to help you in wiping the slate clean. You don't have to explain to anybody why you want to be somebody else, and you don't have to give somebody a label to make it easier for you to go. You could say, we're not a match, and I want to be with someone who is a match, and that would be all that you'd have to say. And then it would be easier for you to become a personal match to what you want. But what we feel right now from you, because of the strength with which you have been justifying and pushing against this relationship, if you were to move into another relationship right now, it would not be very different from that one. You have some vortex, we're glad you've now heard of it, work to do before you say yes to another partner, you see.
Right.
So if you want to, tell us something that gives you the strongest reason to want to go someplace else. We're going to take the bounce with you and show you how this process works. So the question is, what is it that makes you so sure that you don't want to be there?
I want a partner that I can grow with, that I could love, that we can connect on a higher level.
All right, now you did something really good. You told us what you wanted, even though we were asking for what you don't want. So you took the bounce already, and that's good. But then it makes us want to ask you, why are you so sure that's not the person? Because he has trained me into a response that doesn't match that. But if you could just accept that the training doesn't have to be that way, that you could. You see, through all of that, you have been creating the relationship of your dreams. Let us put it to you this way. That rascal who you are ready to leave helped you to create the relationship of your dreams.
Absolutely. 100%.
Don't you find that fascinating?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, thanks, honey, you helped me create the relationship of my dreams, but you're not it. But what we want you to hear us say is, you're not it now, but I'm not it now either.
Right.
Because both of us are wrapped up in what we've got, and neither one of us are thinking about what we want. And that, in our definition, is mental illness.
Absolutely.
In other words, we think it is insanity to look at what is instead of where you're going. We think it would be insanity to be driving down the freeway in Esther's monster bus, looking always in the rearview mirror. We don't think you would do very well on the highways. We think it is much better to look where you're going, you see. So what you want to do is befriend this relationship that you've created over here. And you're afraid to do that because you're afraid if you make friends with the relationship that the one that you don't want has helped you to create, that the universe will stick you with that guy. But it is our promise to you that if you befriend this relationship that your husband has helped you carve out, the universe will yield it to you through the path of least resistance. And it might very well be that person. It might be. It might not be, but it might be. But it doesn't matter because you're not befriending it. And this is the thing that we want you all to hear. Don't befriend it because you're trying to make a bad relationship good. Don't befriend your vibrational reality because you're trying to make a bad situation better or because you're trying to fill a void with something wanted. Befriend it because right here, right now, it feels better to you to do that than not to do it. In other words, do it for the emotional alignment of getting into the vortex. And then we just want to put it to all of you. Do you trust that through the life that you've lived, that which you call God, that which we are calling source or all that is, do you trust that it is known by that powerful energy who you really are and what you deserve? Do you trust that that knowledge is there?
Yeah.
So why are you fitful, and why are you in a hurry, and why are you trying so hard to bang it out? Why not just soothe yourself into the vortex and let this energy that creates worlds wrap around you all the things you want? Wouldn't it be fun just to see what the universe has lined up for you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So do as much as you can to disengage from anything that makes you anxious. But the most important thing that we want to say to you is, every minute you justify leaving that person, you hold off finding the person you're looking for. That's just so powerful. And every moment you spend appreciating that person, you allow the universe to deliver the one you're really looking for faster. Don't you love knowing that?
That's powerful, yeah. It's very powerful.
Good.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
So excited to meet you guys.
Likewise.